Hello, and welcome to another episode of Let's Play FFT Rebirth. So here we are at the very first time at the deployment screen, and I remember so many of my friends, when this game first came out, being totally baffled by this screen. FFT is an amazing game in so many ways, but the UI design is pretty questionable in a lot of ways. So, I know it says at the top here L1 and R1, but for a kid, when this game first came out, it was pretty hard to figure out that you didn't just press start. Like, you couldn't just move Ramza around and then press start and go, because in the last mission you didn't have any control over any other units. And it seems kind of like, oh, maybe I just can replace Ramza with some other characters. Oh, but you can't do that. So I think for me and my friends, it took a lot of time and trial and error to just kind of figure out, oh yeah, you can actually add some other units in this mission, and it isn't that hard, because, I had so many friends start with just Ramza, and then get slaughtered in this mission and kind of give up and be like, oh, FFT is way too hard. So anyway, let's take a look at our units. So we have Dick. He's got a Brave of 65, Faith of 49. Zach, 62, 57. Redford, 73, 52. Wow, that is actually pretty good for a randomly generated character. Kyoko, 49, 63. Beauty, 57, 60. Judy, 70, 54. Man, we got these really strong chemists. So here's the thing about these randomly generated characters. You need them for the first act, and I might even go and hire one randomly generated character with high faith just to get through the first act. But I'm not really going to grind very much in the first act, because when you get to Act 2, you get those mercenaries who were with you, aside from Gariland, including, Rad, Lavian, and so on. And in Rebirth, their stats have been buffed enormously, so they're almost like special characters. They have very high faith and brave. And what that means is that the characters you built up in Act 1 are pretty much obsolete. So, maybe that's a good thing, maybe that's a bad thing. I was a little bit frustrated because I did do some grinding in Act 1, and I had to ditch most of my characters for those ones because the stat difference was just so much. Anyway, we know about that this time, so we're not going to spend too much time grinding in Act 1, and we'll see if we can just get through with a rather low-level run. One thing to take note of is that the enemies are scaled to your level in both the random encounters, as in vanilla, and also in the storyline battles. So there's none of that being under-leveled, over-leveled for a mission. But there are still sort of benefits to leveling as long as you're still unlocking new jobs and new skills, because those give you sort of a tactical advantage over the enemy, in that you have more versatility in being able to choose how to organize your units. Even if you're still the same level and you have more or less the same equipment. Okay, so let's get started here. Yeah, so I have two chemists in Ramza, and that's not really going to cut it. So I need to use at least one squire here. And I suppose... Yeah. Okay, I'll go with Dick and with Zach. Okay. Anyway, not a huge deal. It's the first mission. Not that hard. Magic City, Gariland. So this is the first mission in the game I suppose you can really lose. It's not terribly difficult, but if you have no idea what you're doing, I suppose it could pose a challenge. So the first thing to check is who has throw stone, because that skill is excellent. The chemists aren't going to have it because they don't have basic skill. Okay, so only one of my characters, I think Delita maybe has it, but we can't control him, and the guest AI isn't any better in this than it was in the original. And yeah, Ramza doesn't have it yet. Okay, well, so it's always good to be a little bit cautious in this first turn. We'll just move up here and throw stone. Hey, what's Delita gonna do? Not much. Okay, here's the kind of quote-unquote elite squire we're fighting. We'll just take a look at his equipment to see if he actually does have better loot than the other units. So, Ramza, watch out! Don't rush them. Don't patronize me, Delita. I'm also a Beluv. So, we get more exposition here. Surrender or die in obscurity. Another famous line from the game. So, what we saw in the previous scene was that Delita was kind of the one in the know about what was going on with why the assembly was being called and why they were being deployed. And here he kind of shows his concern for Ramza. So Delita is kind of in the stronger position between Ramza and Delita at this part of the game. And we're going to kind of see that continue throughout the game, even though their relationship does change. And we also saw here that, you know, there's this element of class struggle going on where this punk, or this thief, the tortured beggar, I guess it was, the academy instructor said. Or sorry, tortured thieves, yeah. This tortured thief attacks, or accuses Ramza of being, you know, a snot-nosed little brat and part of the nobility, whereas, you know, these are just soldiers trying to desperately survive after the end of the war. And, you know, Ramza always kind of has this, you know, let's be friends, let's not fight, we can work it out. That's always his kind of disposition, the way he talks. But the reality of the circumstances always mean that he ends up killing the lower class people that he's pitted against. Which I will now attempt to do here. Haha. So, you know, yeah, Ramza is maybe a little bit naive, as we saw where Delita kind of knew more than him, and he's very proud of his position as a member of the thieves family, and of course, he's also a bit idealistic. So Dick can't really do anything at this point in time. He only has dash, which is an alright skill, but really not as good as throw stone. And in some occasions you can use it to knock enemies off of tall buildings and then they take considerable amounts of fall damage, but for the most part it's not that strong. Okay, so should I heal? Alright, I was going to take a look at... So yeah, he has a long sword, which is stronger than the swords that our squires have equipped at the moment, which are broadswords. So he's the elite in this mission. Yeah, I think I'm going to attack, and then I will move back so that my Squire Dick can get in there, or even I can just attack with her. Because, you know, these chemists are not going to stay chemists for very long because they actually have really high brave. And it's time to bust out the throw stone. Oh yeah. So you can see the tactical advantage that, you know, even a weak skill like throw stone has because it's ranged. So this guy, Zach, he's gonna retreat. So yeah, typically Eckert, that chemist, will always run out to heal the other squires, and then this is the point where we just pounce on him because he's exposed, and we don't want him to keep this battle going interminably by just healing everybody. So yeah, dash, you can't use it at a different elevation. We're just going to have to use normal attack. Okay, here we got Ramza. So we're going to try to block off his corridor of retreat here. And just nail the chemist. So he'll probably heal himself instead of healing the other squires. Oh, throw a stone. Throw a stone revenge on me. Yeah, and at this point in the game, like, nobody has any counter skills, so that's not really a factor in considering what you're going to do. Like, one of our characters gets knocked unconscious, that's okay. Okay, so the great thing about chemists is obviously that they can throw potions. I think I might keep a chemist in my party throughout the game. Not because chemists are especially good, but because I want to try to use some of the kind of less used classes in this run. But I'm still kind of thinking about that. I mean, the big advantage of chemists is that they can throw items, but they can also use guns, which can be fairly powerful in the late game. And in Rebirth, they have changed guns so that they're now able to be dual wielded, and I'm not sure if that applies to all guns or only to some guns, but we'll find out. The guns that have elemental skills equipped on them are actually quite strong, so a chemist could be fairly viable in the late game. if that's the case. I'm not so sure about the mid-game, though. Guns are good insofar as, like, they have high accuracy and they have good range, but they don't do a whole lot of damage. And getting, I guess it would be 2 swords, the dual wielding skill, is going to be a lot of work because you have to level up to ninja. So I'm not sure when we can actually get the kind of like cowboy dual wielding chemist going on. It might be not until maybe the end of Act 3 or something like that. Okay, so let's just take a look here. My character's mostly alright. I'm not going to go back and heal that guy, because I'll just leave that to the chemists. Yeah, Ramza has the wish skill, which can heal other units by draining his own life. It can be useful in a pinch. I don't know if I should really be healing my units anymore. It might just be a waste of money, but why not? And maybe I'll be able to get a skill off of the elite. And just as I said, I wouldn't be using any more potions. I myself having to use another one to heal Ramza. I'm not going to use a high potion, because this battle's almost over anyway. Okay, she's going to go back here and maybe engage that other unit. I think I should be able to kill this guy. I'll just get Ramza to move back here. Now this was... it does have throw stone. Okay. Maybe use that next turn if we get to it. Hopefully Delita will do some serious damage to this guy. Nope. I think she'll be okay. Oh, come on a 90%. Maybe a little bit of a risky move there, but I don't think it should be an issue. Oh, treasure box. Give me treasure. Yes. Free longsword, nice. So yeah, sometimes you can get the better loot that the elites have equipped. Too bad. Great. And that is that for Magic City Gariland. Why do you continue committing acts like robbery? You wouldn't have died this way if you'd led an honest life. So, you know, we can see that Ramza is idealistic, and he believes kind of the official line, what he was taught in school maybe, about how the feudal system works and what the role of the nobility is. And this is going to be really crucial to his character as we continue through the game. So I'm not going to finish quite here. I'm going to watch the next storyline episode and then cut there. Usually like to keep about 5 or 6 save files going, just in case I make a mistake. So the one thing I want to do right away is to change these chemists into squires, because obviously their braid is so high. Okay. And the really bad characters. So who was I gonna keep? Dick. I don't think I'm gonna keep Dick. Zach. Yeah, this guy sucks. I love the little comments they make when you fire them. Especially like the chocobos. Can't humans and monsters be friends? Oh. Yeah, I think I'm gonna hire a high faith squire and make them into a wizard or something. So I'm gonna have Ramza. You need 5 units. So I'm gonna have Ramza, Redford, Judy. Those are going to be my 3 frontline characters. And then I need 2 characters for the rear. Okay. I will deal with that after this story episode. Having attained the highest rank of Heavenly Knight, brave Balbanes was facing his last days. This is a very important scene in the game. The end of the 50-year war, Beowulf residence. And, you know, just to talk about the really complicated time structure of this narrative, we have the historian telling us the story from the future, and then we went back to the episode at Orbon Monastery, and then we went back into Act 1, and now we're going back again, even further, to see what Balbanes says at the moment of his death. So at the very end of the war here, how goes the battle? Through swift action, we were able to recover Limberry. It's only a matter of time before the Ardelia army leaves Zeltenia. Don't worry. The secret messenger sent to Count Lenario has returned. Count Lenario has agreed to your plan. Good. Then at last, this long war will finally come to an end. Mother. Don't cry, my daughter. Where is Ramza? Just when we need him most. Isidar, Xalbag, my beloved sons, take care of Ramza. He may be your half-brother, but he is my own flesh. Father! Lower your voice. I'm glad you came. Let me look at you. Father. It has been a long time. You've become a fine man. You started the academy in spring, don't you? Listen, Ramza. The Beowulf has served the royal family for generations. The warrior spirit is in us. Never shame your name. Never tolerate injustice. Living true to your heart is the warrior's way, the Beowulf way. I understand, Father. Delita's a good boy. He should serve you well. I've asked the Dean to accept him into the academy. It shocked the Dean a bit. He will serve you well. Treat him well. Yes, Father. Take good care of Alma. Become a fine knight, Ramza. So, Ramza, throughout the game, I think, is really going to try to fulfill his father's dying wishes. He's going to try to be everything that Balbanes wanted him to be. Almost to a fault. We saw there that he's only the half-brother to the other Beowulfs, and he feels a little bit inferior because of that. And they kind of treat him with a little bit less respect than they maybe treat each other because of it. But he is very determined to prove himself as a knight and to prove himself as a Beowulf and to, you know, kind of follow the knight's code of the nobility to the letter more than maybe the rest of the nobility does. So it's almost like this kind of, you know, superego injunction, this moral commandment that Ramza feels and that will drive him throughout this entire story, leading him into a number of very difficult situations. But he sticks to it. So even though we've seen that Ramza is maybe in a kind of weaker position compared to Delita in some ways, even though of course he's nobility, he's less savvy than Delita. He's maybe a little bit he maybe feels a little bit inferior about himself compared to his brothers. He does have a kind of moral courage in a way that other characters in the game don't. So we're going to see a little bit more of that in the next episode when we continue. So if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe.